whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, this is it. This is it. The biggest game of the season. This is it. This game right here, similar to the way I felt week number 2. Well, really week 4 against Atlanta, because week 2, we were staring at 0-2. No one wants to be 0-2, but there was still a ton of football left, especially with the extra game. Felt like an eternity left. Even if you were to start 0-2, it was going to be tough. You didn't want to put yourself in that position. But the week 4 game against Atlanta felt like, look, we don't have a choice. We either win this game or the season's over, because that would have put you at 1-3. And then you know what's coming there after. Saints, Chiefs, Packers. Like, it was only going to get harder from there. At least with the Giants game, you said to yourself, you don't want to lose that game. Bills are coming up, probably going to be 0-3. You could be in a tough spot, but who knows? You could beat the Falcons the following week. You could beat the Saints, and next thing you know, you're on a 2-game winning streak, and we still could have arrived at 2-5 in a different way. This game was, the Falcons game was like 1-3. You could beat the Saints, still get to 2-3, and then find your way to 2-5. And again, 2-5 wasn't the goal, but we saw that we lost to the Saints. Like, you didn't want to put yourself in that position to need a win against the Saints, because we didn't know if we were good enough to beat the Saints, and obviously we weren't. We didn't get the job done. So this game here represents the biggest game to date this season. And we've been with our backs against the wall this season before, and both times we've taken care of business against the Giants in week 2 and against the Falcons in week 4. Now we find ourselves in that same spot here in week 8 versus the Denver Broncos. Win or the season's over. Okay, it's put up or shut up time. Season or no season. This is the game. And Ron I don't think he's necessarily posed it to the players that way, because again, as a coach, it's not your job to tell players that this is what it is at this moment. When it's the end of the season and this is the last game, if you don't win, then yes, you approach it that way. But you can't tell them that if they don't win this game, your season's done, because if they don't win this game, what happens if they don't win this game? We don't play the final 9 games? We just quit then? So you can't put it like that. But for us as fans, this game is that big because it allows us to know, all right, are we serious about having a season or what? Do I need to start looking at these prospects for next year's draft and kind of put the season itself on the back burner? Like, what do I need to do moving forward? How do I need to act accordingly? This game tells me a lot as a fan. I'm going to watch every single game. I'm going to do this every single week, the remainder of the season, whether they win this game or lose it. But the expectation, if they lose this game, is that we're not going to have a season this year. It's over. That meaningful football that I talk about before each season begins, and say, hey, fellas, get me to November playing meaningful football. Get me to December playing meaningful football. That's not happening this year. We don't win this game. That's not happening this season. And I have to be okay with that. So this is a big one. And Ron keeps talking about the stretch run. There is no stretch run. Like this week, he's used the phrase, and today particularly, he used the phrase stretch run, which I like. I like because that phrase insinuates that you think we're going to be viable later in the season, that there will be meaningful. Look, there's no stretch run when there's no meaningful football. Okay? I'm not talking about a stretch run and we're 3-9. There's no stretch run. You're done. You're dead. Dead, I tell you. But there's a stretch run if you think you're in it and you're 6-6 or you're 6-7 and you're right in the mix of things. Yeah, there's a stretch run. So I think what he's told his players is that, hey, we're going to get guys back. We're going to get De'Ami Brown back here shortly. We're going to get Sam Cosmi back. We're going to get Brandon Sheriff back. We're going to get Curtis Samuel back. We're going to get Logan Thomas back. We're going to get a lot of guys back that we think are true difference makers on this football team. And if we're playing good football and we reintegrate these guys back into the mix, we become that much more dangerous. No one's going to want to play us, just like last year. But these are the types of games you got to win. Just like last year. You got to find a way to win this game. This is a big one. And I think Ron has, in some way, shape, or form, let the players know, like, I really believe this. Ron went into the last 2 weeks thinking, hey, if we win, cool. If we don't, I don't expect us to win. And it was really frustrating, both of those games were, because they were both winnable games. And I don't know if Ron expected them to be as winnable as they were. No one is conceding, games here. No one's conceding defeat like, hey, we're going to lose this game. Coaches don't go into games thinking they're going to lose. They think they can win every single game. But you also, in the back of your mind, have a realistic approach. Like, hey, as long as we don't get our brains bashed in here and we look competitive, I'm proud of these guys because it's a young team, and the team we're playing against, they were in the NFC Championship game last year or the AFC Championship game last year. Some of these teams, again, we've played a murderer's row schedule to this point. 3 of our 5 losses have come against teams that were in their respective championship games last year. And another team that we lost to in the New Orleans Saints, even though it's a different team, no Drew Brees this time around, still the same defense for the most part. That team was in the divisional round of the postseason. Like, it's not like we were playing Little Sisters of the Poor here. Now, again, doesn't excuse our play, doesn't excuse the fact that those games were winnable. Every single game sans for Buffalo, to me, was winnable this season. Now, again, going into those games, I wasn't expecting much. But the long story condensed into a shorter form is essentially, this is the first time in about 2 weeks that Ron probably looks at a game and says, hey, we should win this game. We've got a legitimate shot at winning today. We should win this game. At least that's how I'm approaching it. And it sounds different. This week sounded different from Ron. And maybe, too, that it wasn't as much off-the-field distraction from, outside sources and stories of this and that. Maybe that made it a lot easier this week, too. But whatever the case may be, this is a big game. This is it to me, as a fan. I'm going to be here every week, whether we win this game or lose this game. I'll be super disappointed, just like I was when we didn't beat New Orleans, if we don't win this game. Because I look at unlike New Orleans, who actually came in to the game against us at 2-2 and actually playing solid football, even though they had lost to the Giants the week before, they blew a lead. They should have won that game. They should have come into the game against us at 3-1, not 2-2. They were actually playing good football. Unlike that game that we lost, which we should have won, this Broncos team is struggling. They haven't won in a month. They've lost 4 straight. They can't score the football. They are struggling. Everything points to them losing this game against us. However, the same can be said for us. We haven't won in 3 weeks. We're on a 3-game loser streak. We can't score any points. Our last outing, we scored 10 whole points. The week before that, 13. We're struggling to score just like they are. So again, they're looking at us like food. We're looking at them like food. Predator or prey? Which one do you want to be this week? That's the question. Do you want a season or don't you want a season? You want a season, win this game, get to 3-5 at the bye. You'll get some reinforcements back after the bye. Let's go have ourselves a season. You want this thing to be over? You want us to be talking about Christmas and Thanksgiving and who we're going to draft next year in the first and second round and what quarterbacks are coming out of the next year's draft and which ones fit this team? Go ahead, lose this game, go to 2-6, go to the bye week and have everyone disinterested with the rest of the season. It's really simple. It's not hard. The math is really simple. 3-5 and the season, 2-6, no season, prey, 3-5, predator. Which one do you want to be? Let's see what the team does and how they respond to this opportunity that's being placed in front of them heading into their bye. So we get to in other news. We heard from Ron Rivera today. We heard from defensive line coach Sam Mills III. We'll talk about what was said between the two men a little bit later on. But before we do that, let's take a look at the injury report for week number 8 in the National Football League for these two teams heading into this massive matchup. Both of these teams want it bad. Let's see who they'll have available in this football game as we start with Washington and what they have. As you can see, 3 guys have already been ruled out of this game. Those 3 guys are De'Ami Brown, Sam Cosmi, and Curtis Samuel. No surprises there. We talked about those 3 guys missing this game. So none of us are surprised by this development. I told you these are the three guys in particular that I expected to be back after the bye week, and my impressions have not changed. Those three guys I think will be back, and we will be at full strength, of course, pending this game, and if we don't incur any new injuries, we will be back at full strength, ready to rock and roll for, as Ron Rivera terms it, the stretch run. Again, there's no stretch run if you don't win this game, but if we do win this game and you get to 3-5 and things get really interesting, Tampa, Carolina, Seattle, there's some winnable games there, things get really interesting, and in Vegas, and then you get the 5 division games to wrap it up. So things get really interesting if you can find a way to win this game. Again, who knows what happens against Tampa? We catch them slipping coming off the bye week. It's possible. We catch them slipping. They have their worst game of the season, turn it over. Next thing you know, we get a win there. We get Carolina the week after. They're struggling. They'll have Christian McCaffrey back by then, so they won't be the same team that we've seen struggle the last 3 or 4 weeks. But they're going through an identity crisis right now. Who knows? You could get hot here. And even with the Tampa Bay loss, if you win this game, but you beat Carolina and then you beat Seattle and you beat the Vegas Raiders, that's what you've won 4 out of 5. And next thing you know, you look up and you're back to 500. I mean, again, that's a lot of ifs. And if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, oh, what a wonderful world it would be. I get it. I understand. But when you look at this injury report, it's very encouraging because the guys that are questionable, I think they're going to play. Now, William Jackson III, he was questionable last week. He didn't play. So he could not play this week. But he's been limited all week, which he wasn't last week. He was out for the vast majority of last week. So William Jackson III probably going to play this week. For some of you, that's not a good thing, okay? For me, it is. I want to see this guy. The only way he's going to get better is by playing, not by watching. So I want him back on the field, okay? Brandon Sheriff, he could potentially be back this week. I think he's going to play. But they're not going to rush Brandon because they know the bye week is sitting right here. And Wes Schweitzer is fully capable of going in there and getting the job done. So they may take it easy with Brandon. And they said they're going to monitor him and see how he feels. And you know how this thing goes. So, it'll be interesting to see if Brandon plays. That's another one that I'm kind of looking at and saying, I don't know. I'm not sure. But he's practiced all week. So I'm thinking Brandon Sheriff's going to go. And then Cam Sims. Cam Sims pretty much said, look, barring a setback, I'm playing this week. He said it out of his own mouth. So if he continues trending in the direction that he's trending in, I think he's going to play as well. And then Cornelius Lucas had an illness today, so he ended up on the injury report. We can't afford for him to not feel good. He's going to play regardless, though. Whether he feels good or not, look, bro, you got to play. Sorry. We can't afford to have another tackle go down and have to put in, I forgot his damn name from the Raiders, who we traded for last year. They had to play a few games for us. Like, we don't want that shit again. Especially if Von Miller somehow manages to play in this game. I still don't think he's going to play. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get to the Denver Broncos side of things. Von Miller is questionable. That's really the only one I care about. These other guys, they're going to play. And I told you that already. I was like, none of these guys are missing the game. Their injury report is going to look a lot like ours, where a lot of these guys are going to play. And you're going to have 2 or 3 guys maybe that don't play. And that's what we're looking at. 2 or 3 guys that maybe won't play. Mike Purcell already ruled out. All right, so he's not going to play on the defensive line. But Jamar Johnson, their rookie safety out of Indiana, he's questionable. He didn't practice on Thursday, but he did practice on Friday. I think he's going to play. And Von Miller right now is questionable. And I just really think they're pulling our leg. I think they're really trying to force us to prepare for Von Miller. That's what I would do if I'm a coach. I think Von Miller, if this were a playoff game, he would give it a go. It's not a playoff game, but Von Miller has said this is one of the most important games of their season because, again, they're looking at us like food. And if they want to have a season, they can't afford to lose to the likes of Washington. Washington stinks. And if we want to be a good team, we have to beat teams like Washington. That's how teams in the league that are good are good. They beat teams like us. They beat teams like Denver. They beat teams like Jacksonville. That's why Jacksonville's record stinks. That's why our record stinks. Because we don't beat Green Bay. We don't beat Kansas City. We don't beat Buffalo. We don't beat New Orleans. We lose to those teams. So when their record is at 10 and 11 wins, they got fat off of teams like us. And until we change that narrative, until we stop being one of those preys that those predators can eat, this is what's going to happen. So even when another team that is somewhat, preyish, like the Broncos, they're still looking at us like food because they're saying, hey, we're not as bad as them. And, we start playing the levels of bad game. Well, they're bad, but we're not that bad. No, you stink too, and so somebody's going to eat. The Broncos think they're going to eat this week. Von Miller thinks he's going to eat this week, and so he may try to give it a go. I wouldn't be shocked to see 58 out there. I was really shocked to hear him on Thursday say, yeah, I'm trending in the right direction towards playing. And I'm like, what? I still think they're really just trying to make us prepare for 58 because he's such a dynamic player, have to know where he is at all times, and you have to game plan to stop him. If you just tell us he's out, he's not playing, then that takes a lot of the stress and game planning away from us during the course of the week. We can just go about our business normally. When you tell us, yeah, 58's got a chance to be out there, now we have to make sure that the offense knows 58 is the single most disruptive figure on the field at all times. We got to know where he is. So let's prepare to deal with that. I don't think he's going to play. We'll see. If he does, he's not going to be 100%. But again, Von Miller at 60% still better than probably 2/3, 3/4 of the edge rushers in this league. So we'll see what happens with that situation. But anyway, heard from Coach Rivera, heard from defensive line coach Sam Mills III. Rivera pretty much talked about, the opportunity in front of this team and the stretch run. He talked about injuries with certain guys like Sheriff potentially playing this week. He talked about, at some point getting Diami back, getting Cosme back. And essentially what I just said, like, hey, we're loading up all the ammunition because we got some big guns that go brat, brat. And the only way we're going to be able to rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat is if we put those bullets in our hip, put them in the holster and keep them ready to load that clip. So they're thinking at the end of this situation, before the bye, they're going to be able to get some guys back. And when we come off of this bye, we should be looking like a brand new team. We should be looking like the team that we thought we were going to be, sans for Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course. But Logan Thomas should be activated off of IR. Sam Cosme should be back at right tackle. Damn, I just had a brain fart that quick. Brandon Sheriff should be back at right guard. You should have your offensive line, all 5 guys back intact. You should have all of your receivers full deck. The first time this season, we haven't had all of our receivers healthy in any given game this season. Someone's been down, whether it's Diami was out in that Atlanta game. He was not healthy. He got hurt that game. I think Curtis got hurt and we're re-aggravated in that game, but he played. He had to suck it up because Diami and Curtis and Cam Sims both got hurt that game. So we haven't had a full complement of receivers all season long. This may be the first time we'll have a chance to do that, after the bye week. But again, got to get through this game healthy and then get to that point. But Ron pretty much said, look, this is a big game. Got a chance to get back in the win column and then get some guys back for the stretch run. There is, like I said before, and I'll say it once more, there is no stretch run if you don't win this game. Okay, the rest of the season is rendered irrelevant if you can't beat the Denver Broncos. And I don't care that the Denver Broncos are on paper maybe a better team than us record-wise. I don't give a shit about that. If you can't find a way to beat the Denver Broncos, who have not won a game in a month, then you deserve to have your season be rendered irrelevant. And that's where we're heading if we cannot win this game. So Ron pretty much said, yeah, got to get these guys back, and we think we can do that. He was asked, why not put Curtis Samuel on IR? Because he's already put him on short-term IR once. You can't put him on it twice. If you put him on IR again, he's done for the season. So really wasn't a smart question, but that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is he just talked about injuries and talked about how big this game was. You get to Sam Mills III. Haven't heard from him in a while, probably since the offseason. And he talked about this defensive line, how young it is, and how I mentioned this before in the past, like teams didn't really, they knew the names, but they really didn't acknowledge how good the names were because we didn't force them to realize how good the names were. Montez Sweat, yep, former first round pick, all that good jazz. Last year was the first time he really stepped up and made plays. I told you he took the biggest leap of any defensive lineman, really any player on the team. I felt like from year 1 to year 2, his leap was massive. So teams had to respect him coming into this year. Chase Young, yep, we know the name, number 2 overall pick, but he's got to prove it to us. Cleveland Farrell was the number 4 or 5 pick or whatever by the Raiders. He stinks. Like nobody's going to just give you respect because you were drafted in the top 5. You got to show us. Well, Chase showed the rest of the league how good he was. One defensive rookie of the year. And so now teams are like, okay, they got 2 of these dudes. They got bookends. All right, tag team back again. Got to make sure both of those guys are silenced. Then you got the guys in the middle, and, Jonathan Allen's playing his ass off. Deron Payne, really quiet this year. Was looking for a little bit more from him with all these guys around him. I was expecting him to step up. Ioannidis working his way back from an injury. Didn't expect him to just jump in there and just start wreaking havoc. But I surmise that he'll get more and more comfortable and that he'll start to make plays. He's been this close to a safety in 2 of the last 3 weeks. So he's a guy that's starting to come on as well. And he just talked about how young this group is and how they've had to adjust, how teams have adjusted and the league has adjusted to them. Now they've got to adjust to the adjustment. So he's like, it always helps when you got a guy like Ryan Kerrigan, which they don't anymore. He sounds like he was not in favor of moving on from Ryan Kerrigan, which is fine. He's like, look, the organization made a decision. Sometimes you need to be ahead of these things. So we went with the youth route instead of bringing back the veteran. But I always love having veterans like Ryan Kerrigan. He's like, I still show them rushes of Ryan Kerrigan. No wonder we can't get to the damn quarterback. When I heard him say that, I was like, no wonder Chase is bull rushing on every goddamn play. You're showing them clips of Ryan Kerrigan. It's the wrong damn person to be showing them clips of. He's like, Ryan Kerrigan's such an efficient rusher, and these guys have to be more efficient as rushers because the game is so fast up here in the NFL. So the 3-step drop balls out, it's a quick game, it's a screen. They've got to be able to adjust, and they can't be taking a whole. And these are all facts, by the way. The game is a lot faster. Tackles are a lot more athletically gifted. It's not like college where they're taking 7-step drops and quarterbacks are, not, reading the field as quickly. And so you got time to do, all these nonsense stutters and, juke moves and then get into the backfield and get to the quarterback. It doesn't work that way up here. However, Ryan Kerrigan had one move. Bull rush, rip. Why the hell is Chase Young running the same damn move? Because he's being fed this bullshit every week. Hey, Ryan Kerrigan did it like this. This is how you used to do it. He's a totally different skill set than Ryan Kerrigan. Now it makes sense why every damn rush is a bull rush from Chase Young. And he's not using, because when have we ever saw Ryan Kerrigan? When did we ever see him use his hands? When did we ever see him grab a guy, shake him, and throw him out of the way? It was rare. I've seen him do it before, but it doesn't happen very often. If you're showing clips of Ryan Kerrigan, you're showing a bull rush. You're showing a rip. That's what you're showing. Well, that's what Chase Young's been doing. Makes sense now. Anyway, he pretty much said, look, these guys are growing. They're getting better, but it takes time. And he's not wrong, but I was really disappointed to hear that he's lamenting over the loss of Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan is gone. He's not coming back. And guess what? Yeah, it would be nice if Ryan Kerrigan were still coming off the bench instead of having to go to Casey Toohill, and James Smith-Williams. Yeah, it'd be nice to have Ryan Kerrigan around for that. And Ryan Kerrigan, contrary to popular belief, Ryan Kerrigan wanted to be back. Everybody thinks, oh, he wanted more playing time. And so, he wanted out. No, he realized that this is his role. He's not starting in Philadelphia. He's coming off the bench in Philadelphia. He would have been doing the same thing here. He would have been getting his snaps. They didn't want him. They wanted to get younger. That was their call. Right? More specifically, that was Ron Rivera's call. That wasn't Sam Mills' call. He wanted Ryan Kerrigan back. But that's not here nor there. Why the hell are we talking about Ryan Kerrigan in week 8 of the 2021 NFL season? Like, that's stupid. So, bottom line is, do your job, guy. Teach these guys how to win one-on-one matchups. He talked about them. I thought he did use a great analogy when he talked about these pass rushers being like NBA guys, where he's like, look, our guys, we've got premier scorers in Young and Sweat and Allen and, guys that can win one-on-one matchups. And generally in the NBA, when you got a premier scorer, you just, hey, everybody get out the way. Let me do my thing. I can score the basketball. He's like, in this league, you can't do that. Even though we've got premier scorers, guys that can get to the quarterback, we need to do this as a unit. You want your rush to look more like Golden State, like the San Antonio Spurs, like a well-orchestrated, just 5 guys on the same page in basketball, moving without the ball, cutting, setting screens, working well with one another to help someone get the shot. You don't want to have a Brooklyn Nets offense where it's, hey, James, you do your thing. We'll move out the way. Hey, KD, you get the rock. You do your thing. You want everybody rushing together in concert with one another, and that's what they're working towards. And they've been better lately. We'll see if they can continue to do that this week against the Denver Broncos. So let's move on to our next segment, Behind Enemy Lines. And I'm going to give you my 5 keys to the game for the offense and for the defense. We'll get through these quickly, and then I'll give you my prediction after that and final outcome. So start with Washington's offense versus the Denver Broncos defense. The first key to the game for the offense is to start fast. And last week we got our first offensive touchdown on the opening drive of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that was the first time this season we scored a touchdown on the opening drive. I think we've scored on the opening drive before, but it wasn't a touchdown. It was a field goal. We got a touchdown to Terry McLaurin to get the scoring going early. And that's not necessarily what I'm referring to in this game when I say start fast. What I mean is what we can't allow is for the Broncos to get a lead and feel comfortable. You know, for the last month in this losing streak, they've been playing from behind essentially. The only game they had a lead early was against the Baltimore Ravens. They jumped out to a 7-0 lead, and then the Ravens from that point forward took over the game and ended up scoring 26 unanswered and won that game 26-7. But outside of that, they've been pretty much trailing in every single one of these losses to the Steelers and to the Raiders and to the Browns. They've been trailing in just about every single one of these games and then having to play catch up, which isn't their thing. So we need to start fast. It doesn't necessarily have to be a touchdown or a score on the opening drive, but don't go 3 and out. Don't give this defense any, momentum. Even if it's 2 first downs and then you punt, but you flip the field position and now they got to go 97 yards because, the ball was downed at the 3-yard line or Tressway kicked it out of bounds at the 3. Great. Make them go the length of the field. That's what we're looking to have happen. Start fast as a unit. If you don't score on the first possession, fine. Score on the second possession. But let's not allow Denver to be up 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. Like, if they score, and it's very feasible that they score early in the game against our defense, we need to respond. Or if we get it first, hey, let's take it to them. Let's show them that they're in for a fight today. Start fast as an offense. The one thing I don't want to see is that we're down double digits early in this game, whether it's 14-0, 10-0, 13-0. I don't want to see us down early in this game because the offense is struggling. Start fast. Protect the Duke. One of the ways we can lose this game is we turn it over. Look, the Broncos are a team that's a feast or famine defense. Like, when they're struggling, and they're struggling right now, they don't force turnovers. They're giving it up on the ground. They're giving it up through the air. It's really du jour. What's your flavor of the day? And so you can get it any way you want it. But if you really want to give them a chance to feel good about themselves, let them create turnovers. For some reason, when we lose games, we fall asleep. And it's not like just a consistent thing. It's 1 or 2 plays. We fall asleep behind the wheel, just like last week, coming out first possession, fall asleep behind the wheel at left tackle. You get beat by Rashawn Gary. Ball comes out. It's recovered by Green Bay. That was the game changer last week. It's 14-7. Even if we punt on that possession, Green Bay has not been moving the football all that effectively. Punt the ball, make them move it down the field the full length, and see what we can do defensively. Don't give them short fields. We have to protect the football. Can't turn it over in the red zone, especially. Can't turn it over in our territory, deep in our territory. Can't turn it over, period. Protect the football. You want to lose to the Broncos? Go in there and turn it over twice and see what happens. Go ahead. That's a recipe. We're not good enough to spot them turnovers. Go ahead, turn it over twice and see what happens. Go with what works. This Denver Broncos team is an equal opportunity offender. Like, you can run on them. All right. We just saw what the third string running back, Ernest Johnson, did to the Denver Broncos defense. Granted, we don't have the Cleveland Browns offensive line. That's not our offensive line. Okay. But the Steelers offensive line hasn't been great this year. Their rushing attack hasn't been great. Najee Harris went over 100 yards, 120 yards to be exact. So you can run it on them, but then guess what? Just about every quarterback in this losing streak has gone over 300 yards. Case Keenum didn't do it. Why? Because he was able to turn around and hand it to Ernest Johnson and have him run for 140 some odd yards. That's why. But, Ben Roethlisberger went for almost 3 bills. Derek Carr went way over 300 yards. And, they're struggling against teams to stop deep balls. They're struggling to stop, chunk plays in the run game. They're struggling. So whatever's working, go with that. Okay. If we're having success on the ground, don't be afraid to pound these boys into submission, Scott. Okay. If they're having trouble, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If the pass game is working, okay, stick with that then. But whatever's working, continue to go to that. We don't have to be balanced if it's not necessary. If we're kicking their ass in the run game, continue to put their dick in the dirt. If we're killing them through the air, continue to air it out, okay? But do whatever works. Go with whatever is working. They're giving up 300-yard games through the air. They're giving up 100-yard games on the ground. With whatever's working, go with that. Next key, finish drives, red zone efficiency. Look, I'm not going to sit here and spend a lot of time on this. Last week, we talked about having red zone efficiency. The week before that, we talked about red zone efficiency. The week before that, we talked about red zone efficiency. We've been terrible the last 3 weeks in particular. Before that, we were excellent in the red zone. For some reason, since these last 3 weeks, Saints, Chiefs, and then Packers, we can't buy a damn touchdown in the red zone. Turnovers, failed fourth downs, missed field goals, blocked field goals, you name it, fumbles, we've done it. This shit has to stop this week. Find a way to finish drives. If you're moving the football, it's a 7-play, 62-yard drive, and we're now at the 7-yard line. Finish that puppy off. I don't care if it's through the air or on the ground. Finish the drive with the touchdown. Got to get in the end zone. We cannot afford to keep kicking field goals or worse, turning it over or failing to convert on a fourth down. And this isn't one of those weeks where you should be turning down field goal opportunities. I know we want to score touchdowns, and that's the goal. You're trying to finish off drives. You don't want to leave points on the field. However, this isn't one of those weeks where you go, hey, if we don't score 30 plus, we're not going to win. If we get in the field goal range and we're 4th and 2 and you're tempted to go for it, you're moving the football, take the damn points. We're playing the Denver Broncos. They don't score a ton of points. Take the damn field goal. This is one of those games where you just got to understand who your opponent is. Last week, we were playing Green Bay. The week before, we were playing Kansas City. Those teams demand that you keep your foot on the gas pedal and that you got to score points. This is not one of those weeks. We get to the 13 and the drive stalls out and it's 4th and 2. It's pretty damn tempting. Kick the goddamn field goal, okay? We get to the 6-yard line. It's pretty tempting on 4th and 2. Kick the field goal, take the points, put the pressure on the Broncos to respond, okay? These field goals will add up if we have to settle for them. That's not the goal. Finish drives. Have some red zone efficiency this week. It is paramount that we get points. And you much rather do it via the end zone, not through the uprights. All hands on deck is the final key to the game offensively. Look, I think they're going to try to stop Terry McLaurin at all costs. I think they're going to try and put Terry in a box and say, hey, somebody else has got to beat us. And Terry may not do it this week. This may not be 7 for 116 this week in a touchdown. This may have to be Terry only has 5 catches for 52 yards, and we're going to have other guys step up, whether that's Adam Humphries, whether that's Ricky Seals-Jones, whether that's, Cam Sims coming back from injury, whether that's J.D. McKissick and Antonio Gibson, whomever, we got to have other guys step up. Bottom line is other guys have to step up in this game and help. This can't be a one-man wrecking crew. It can't just be Terry. Can't just be Ricky Seals. Can't be RSJ all day. All right, Taylor Heineke has to stop doing that as well. Find other guys. Adam Humphries is open. Trust me. Get it to him. He has to be accurate. Spread it around and all hands on deck for this game. It's a big one. Everyone needs to be a part of the action. So that's the final key offensively. We get to the defensive side of the football. Set the tone early, Washington defense versus Denver Broncos offense. Set the tone early. Again, that doesn't mean that we come out and they don't get anything on the opening drive. You don't want to give up a touchdown. You don't want to give up a field goal. You don't want to give up anything. But if you do, that's fine. All right. After that, settle in and set the tone. Even if they go down, just because they score a touchdown on the opening possession, and I'm not saying that they will. I'm not conceding anything. But let's say they do. All right. Doesn't mean that the game's over and that they're going to do this all day. Settle in. That might be the only touchdown they score. the entire day. But set the tone early. Even if that means hitting Teddy Bridgewater, getting to him, getting in his face. We played Teddy 2 gloves last year. We played against Teddy. We played against Teddy B. We played against him, against Carolina. Similar offense, same feeling going into the game, and he kicked our ass. Got to hit Teddy Bridgewater, and we got to hit him early and often. Set the tone. Stop the run. Speaking of which, the next key to the game is tackle, tackle, tackle. Teddy Bridgewater is a guy that's going to throw it short of the sticks. You know, that's why they're the worst third down offense in the league. Yes, the Denver Broncos are currently the worst third down offense in football. All right. The reason that is the case is because Teddy Bridgewater is the black Alex Smith. Okay. He is just like Alex Smith. Dun, 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 Captain! Check down. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to throw it on 3rd and 7, a 3-yard pass, and ask his running back to break 2 tackles and get the first down. Well, against our defense, that's actually not a bad play. It has been a really good play early in the season. We're getting better in that department. It is paramount that we tackle in this game because if you're going to give up the 3-yard pass and allow that to go for 8 yards on 3rd and 7, we're going to have a long day at the office. Okay, because Teddy Bridgewater last week against the Browns, we all got to watch it plain as day. It's 3rd and 9 and he's throwing a 4-yard pass and asking his tight end or his running back to break 2 tackles and get the first down. We've got to rally to the football, tackle, tackle, tackle. That's how everyone else has gotten off the field against Denver. Don't let them have chunk plays. Don't let them get into 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3. That's manageable, which is right in Teddy Bridgewater's wheelhouse. Make it 3rd and 8. Make it 3rd and 9 by stopping the run on 1st and 2nd down and then forcing them into 3rd and long. Teddy's not comfortable pushing the ball down the field because he doesn't want to make a mistake. And that's when he's going to check it down. And that's when we've got to rally up and tackle. We do those things, we will do what everyone else has done against this Broncos offense, which is get off the field on 3rd downs and force them to punt. They have a head coach in Vic Fangio who is very conservative. He's a defensive-minded guy. He feels like, hey, if we just don't make any mistakes and our defense plays well and the offense doesn't turn it over, we can punt, we will have a chance. He's not one that's willing to roll the dice unless you let them get into a bunch of 4th and 1 and 4th and 2 situations. Early in the season, he was going for it like his mind was going bad. 4th and 4 and 4th and 7. Against the Giants, he went for it like 3 times in that game and got him. Part of the reason they won that game. Don't let them feel comfortable going for it on 4th down. Make them feel like, man, shit's rough today. We should punt this. You let them get into a rhythm and they start feeling themselves. They'll start going for it on 4th down and they may get a few of them. And that could be the difference between winning and losing the game. Tackle, tackle, tackle. The difference between 4th and 5 and 4th and 1 is your ability to come up and make a sound tackle. He's going to throw it short of the sticks. Can you get up there and make a tackle, or will you go flying by? Will you miss and allow him to get 4 yards after the catch and make it 4th and 1? Now the Broncos are tempted to go for it. Next key to the game defensively. Force Teddy Bridgewater to beat you. It's Teddy 2 gloves. It's Teddy B. It's Teddy Bridgewater. It's Teddy. It's all of those things. He isn't a guy that should be capable of putting a team on his back. He needs the run game. He needs playmakers to catch a slant and take off for 77. He needs a blown coverage to have a guy open deep that he can find and hit him for a touchdown. He needs help. Don't let the run game be a help. Don't let the deep ball be a help. Don't let missed tackles be a help. Don't let turnovers be an assistant to Teddy Bridgewater's success in this game. Make Teddy do it on his own. He's shown over the life of his career, he's incapable of strapping a team to his back and leading them to victory. When he gets help, he's damn good. When he doesn't, he's just as ordinary as it gets. He's just ordinary, people. He's just as ordinary as the day is long. But if you allow the run game to be efficient, you allow them to break tackles and get first downs after throwing the ball short of the sticks, if you allow them to start with tremendous field position because you turned it over or you had a ridiculous penalty that extended a drive, he'll do whatever he needs to do to manage the game. And that's why you can't let them start fast because they don't need to play with the lead. Remember what happened against them last year when he was with Carolina? This is going to be a similar game. You don't want it to be the way it was last year. We started They started slow. We started slow. We had the muffed punt by Steven Sims Jr. They recovered that for a touchdown, and then they took off. They had an entire drive where they didn't throw it one time. They turned around and handed it off on 8 consecutive plays all the way down the field into the end zone. Teddy didn't do a damn thing. They had a reverse to Curtis Samuel. Then they had a deep pass to Curtis Samuel. And then they scored another some more points. I think it was a field goal that time. Whatever the case may be, we can't let them have big plays. We can't let the run game be a crutch. We can't have turnovers, put them in great field position. We have to make him beat us. Next key to the game defensively, eliminate the big play. They're getting Jerry Jeudy back, their big play wide receiver. They haven't had speed in their offensive attack since they lost KJ Hamler like week 4 for the season. They lost Jerry Jeudy in week 1 to a high ankle sprain against the Giants. Now he's going to be back for the first time since week 1, and they're going to want to air it out to him. He's got speed. He can run. We can't have any mishaps in the secondary. Really, the last 2 weeks, specifically last week, we did a really good job of not allowing anything cheap or deep. We made the Packers earn it. That's part of the reason we only gave up 24 points. They didn't get any cheapies. They didn't get to have a drive go just like that and be already in Washington territory. Everything they did, they had to work for it last week. Make this Broncos offense that's very, very, regular. It's not extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Make it seem extraordinary. Okay? I think the big play is the one thing that could be the equalizer for them offensively. If we give those up, Teddy Bridgewater gets into a rhythm, that could be the reason that they end up winning this game. We've got to eliminate the big plays. The more plays you make them run as an offense, the more you feel confident that something's going to go awry. Or you're going to get him in a 3rd and long. He's going to check it down, and you're going to be able to get off the field. Eliminate the big plays. And then finally, last but not least, turnovers and short fields. If you're this defense for Washington, the Broncos have turned it over in every single game except one this season. They've played in 7 games this season, and they've turned it over in 6 of the 7 games. And obviously, they've lost 4 of those 6 games that they've turned it over in. The one game they didn't turn it over in, that was a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars early in the season. Other than that, they've turned it over multiple times in every single one of their losses. They've been very careless with the football. Teddy Bridgewater of late is throwing interceptions. He had 3 against the Raiders 2 weeks ago, had another interception last week, had 2 the week before the Raiders game. He's turning the football over, okay? So it's not like Teddy's just all of a sudden. He's like Alex Smith last year. We just automatically say, it's Alex Smith. He's going to take care of the football. Well, that's bullshit. Alex Smith didn't take care of the ball last year. 2 interceptions. Teddy Bridgewater's throwing interceptions, but we got to force him into a mistake. He's not just going to give you mistakes. If you allow him to check it down and take the underneath throw and don't tackle, he'll just keep doing that all day because that's the safe, easy thing. He likes doing the easy, comfortable thing, just like Alex Smith did. He doesn't want to do the hard thing. But if you force him to do the hard thing, okay, the checkdowns aren't working, I got to be a little bit more aggressive, that's when he gets into trouble. Or you get pressure on him, he'll do some stupid shit. I've seen him throw the ball left-handed. You can get these things to happen if you apply pressure. He's athletic enough. He's dealing with a foot injury, but he's better now. You can put pressure on Teddy Bridgewater. He's an athlete. He can run. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he can hurt you with his legs. We've got to make sure that we are synchronized in our rushing, and we've got to make sure that we get off the field on 3rd downs, even if we don't force turnovers. Getting them off the field on the first set of downs. If they start a drive at their own 17 and they go 3 and out, we're going to get great field position off of that. Getting off the field on 3rd downs is huge because it can create short fields. But you got to get off the field. So turnovers, getting off the field on 3rd downs, creating short fields, however you do it, whether it's via the turnover, via the 3 and out, we need shorter fields for this Washington offense. We've done a better job of that lately, creating some shorter fields for the offense. I want to see that continue in this game, and it'd be nice if that continued via the turnover. But I'll take via the 3rd down stop any day. So those are the keys to the game, and that ends and results in my final outcome for this football game. I've been saying this all week. I was talking about this last week. We should beat the Denver Broncos. That hasn't changed. I think this is a game that is there for the taking. I've got Washington winning this game 27-23. And honestly, I'm being a little bullish here. I don't think it's actually that close. I think they get a late garbage time touchdown. They're down 27-16, and they score a touchdown late. We start to sweat at the end because, we're Washington, and bad shit usually happens to us. So they're kicking an onside kick, and we're on the edge of our seat. But I think that we recover the onside kick, we take knees, we win the football game 27-23. That's my score and more. What is yours? Leave it down in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you guys as to how you think it's going to go on Sunday. Winnable game. Got to find a way to get it done. Our season depends on it. I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. I will see you guys on Sunday for Washington football overtime. At the conclusion of this game, should be a good one. Hopefully, we're on the right side of the scoreboard. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown.